Good morning, my fellow brickheads. It is I, Galaxy of Bricks, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video, which is both exciting and really daunting at the same time. So you'll have to bear with me, guys, that I'm not a natural at this. This is something very different for me. First of all, for those of you who follow me on Instagram, thank you so much for all your support and all your kind words in the last couple of days when I decided to do something like this. And also, thank you very much to the person who came up with the idea that I should set up a YouTube channel based on my love of Lego and various other things. That meant a lot, and you mean a lot to me as well, so thank you. Right, first of all, today's video is going to be about something that was DM'd to me on Instagram, and that was my top 5 favourite bad guys in Lego Star Wars form. So, first of all, let's just get into it. I mean, there's no point wasting, is there? You know, we'll just get into it. Right, so, number 5, these are in no particular order, these are just my own personal opinion. So, number 5, we have the Mimbam Stormtrooper from set number 75211. That is the Imperial TIE Fighter, released in 2018. This is the only figure of its kind from within that set. So you won't get this guy anywhere else. You won't get him in any battle packs. You won't get him in any other exclusives. He's exclusive to the solo line Imperial TIE Fighter. And what can we say about this guy? I'll just zoom in a little bit there for you. Standard Stormtrooper armour for more recent times, though obviously, as you can see, there's a slight raise to the helmet there. In canon, this is to help them camouflage themselves with the planet Mimbam, which is where part of Han Solo's journey takes him when he meets Chewbacca. Spoilers, I'm sorry if you've not seen it. This guy comes with a standard blaster, which you get in all Star Wars packs now, plus a poncho / cape, which is very nice. It's got that worn sort of weathered effect. One of my favourite figures, just because I think he's so unique. And I mean, you're so used to seeing white, stark, dark Stormtroopers. Just to have like a nice camouflage version works really well. Just a shame that you can't get this guy in any other set, to be honest with you. But again, that's number 5 on my own personal list. Number 4, we've got the Imperial Death Trooper. Though, technically, if we're being pedantic about it, there's actually 2 versions of this. There's this version, which is actually the Death Trooper squad leader, who, if you've seen Rogue One, again, spoilers, these are the people that escort Director Krennic back into, you know, Edu, and then obviously Scarif, and then they're also involved in the Rebels TV show and The Mandalorian, where they escort Moff Gideon and high-ranking Imperials like Admiral Thrawn. What I like about this guy, especially in response to sort of similar to what I said with the Mimbam Stormtrooper, it's just a completely different contrast to what you're so used to. The set this guy comes in, which is the set 75156, this one in particular with the pauldron, is Director Krennic's Imperial shuttle, and you know that was released in 2016, and it's just a really nice figure because, you know, it's menacing. It's got that really dark kind of menace to it. You look at the guy and you instantly think, gosh, I wouldn't go into battle with him because he would probably win, you know. And if you see these guys in action in the series, they're able to, you know, hold their own against multiple opponents. And I mean, in Rogue One in particular is where these guys really shine, and it takes a lot to bring one down. So I mean, you know, if you do see this guy on Bricklink or on eBay, or you see Director Krennic shuttle or any of the battle packs that this is featured in, would highly recommend you pick it up. It's a good army builder and it just looks amazing. Right, number 3 on my top 5. So we've done the Mimbam Stormtrooper, we've done the Death Trooper, we're on to figure number 3. And this one, I'm going to stick my neck out and say the actor who played this guy did a phenomenal job, and I think he deserves all the plaudits he gets because he makes such a convincing bad guy, and the character itself is just so detestable that you just want to look at the guy and you just want to punch him in the face because he's that much of just a horrible man. But he's played brilliantly, and that is director Orson Krennic of Rogue One. And he's played by the brilliant Ben Mendelsohn. If you've not seen Rogue One, check it out. It's one of my top favourite, not just Star Wars films, but one of my favourite films of all time. I think it's phenomenal. And again, like the Imperial Death Trooper, this guy features exclusively in Director Krennic's shuttle, obviously. It's his set. But what I like about him is it's the fact that, you know, he has the white uniform, which, fun fact for you, denotes the Imperial Security Bureau. And in canon, the department he works for, which I think is Advanced Weapons Research, is an offshoot of the Imperial Security Bureau. So, you know, Director Krennic is a character who just craves power. He is the mastermind behind the Death Star. You know, he came up with the concept of the Death Star, and without going into too much of the plot, the reason a lot of Star Wars happened is because of this guy, and I think he's great. I mean, you know, you've got the nice soft goods white cape, which is a contrast to what you see from Imperial. You know, they're very grey or black or very prim and proper. You know, they don't wear something as garish as that. And I mean, when you see him in the film wearing that, you just instantly recognise him. And I think that's what resonated with me as this character in Star Wars, was the fact that Director Krennic just oozes this kind of appeal that, as much as you want to root for the guy because he's detestable and he's horrible and he's disgusting and he's just an evil man, you can't help but look at the guy and think, you know, he's so cool, you know. And I mean, you've got the standard Imperial blaster, but in silver, which is nice because it's a bit of a contrast to, obviously, now with Lego sets, especially with the last few years, there's no variation in weaponry. You either get this one or you get the longer one, which I haven't got to hand with any of my characters right now. But, you know, you've got this guy and he's just absolutely, you know, just absolutely cool. If you can get Director Krennic's shuttle on, I think you can get it on eBay right now. It's between like £65 and £70. And I mean, you get this guy, a couple of the Imperial Death Troopers, which I showed you. You get a couple of those, and then you get K2SO and Buddy Rook from Rogue One. And I mean, the build itself is great. I have that in my collection. We'll look into that soon. But this guy is just a great character, and you can see sort of why he's in my top 3 minifigures, because again, the headpiece, great, really suits the character. You know, the white, the black, the stark contrast, and then obviously, you know, for an Imperial director, I can't quite get it to focus, but, you know, his rank is similar to that of an Admiral, but obviously he's not an Admiral and he wants to be something more than what he is. And if you watch Rogue One, you'll see what I mean. So that's Director Krennic, and he is just my all-time favourite. You know, he's just one of my top 3 favourites, as you can see by this video. So that's Director Krennic for you. Highly recommend picking this guy up if you can get him. He also comes as a keyring, fun fact. Right, and then we move on to the top 2, and this was a really tough one for me to sort of iron out, because you've got 2 very good characters whose popularity has only increased in the last few years. I mean, what the character we're going to discuss in a second has had a resurgence. You know, he's fantastic. He's one of the brilliant, you know, he's one of the most brilliant characters you will ever get in Star Wars, and I think now that his popularity is back again, he's just going to go from strength to strength, you know, and that is this guy, and that's Boba Fett. And this particular Boba Fett figure features in set 75174, and that's the Desert Skiff Escape, which I think is from 2000 and... It's not from 2014, it's from 2015. And, yeah, you know, this guy... I'll just show you his face as well, because it's pretty cool, you know. He's got that standard old, you know, angry clone, but it is Boba Fett, isn't it? Because, you know, Boba Fett is actually a clone of Jango Fett, who is his genetic father. So, you know, having that face is good. But I mean, you look at Boba Fett, and you know, he's got that nice, he's got the jetpack, You know, he's got the rangefinder, he's got the shoulder pauldron, you know, he's got the shortened blaster, which you see him use in Return of the Jedi, which is where this figure is based in. To Return of the Jedi, it's a scene where Jabba the Hutt is trying to put them in the Sarlacc pit, and obviously, without spoiling it, stuff happens, and you know, we learn a lot more. And with the recent appearance of Boba Fett in Star Wars media again, so obviously, you know, you've got his appearances in The Mandalorian, you've got his appearances in the Book of Boba Fett, which gives you a lot more context into this character and what he did in the years following Return of the Jedi, you know, and in that period between. So Boba Fett is always going to be a cool character, and I mean, you look at him and you just think cool, because when you saw him in Empire Strikes Back in the 80s, I mean, I wasn't born in the 80s, I was born like 1993, so you know, for me, I grew up watching the Star Wars Special Edition that came out on VHS in 1997, sorry, not 1977, be a bit weird, wouldn't it? You know, I grew up and Empire Strikes Back is one of my favourite Star Wars films, because I think the story's so good and I think the characters are good, and you know, the introduction of Boba Fett properly as a character in that film just sort of highlights how cool he is, you know, because he's got Slave One, he's got this dark kind of like gritty sort of, you know, I'm the galaxy's toughest bounty hunter, you know, I don't take any messing, I don't take any crap off anyone. And I think that's what's endeared him to the fans so much, a lot more recently, is the fact that, you know, they retconned his apparent death in Return of the Jedi because he was so popular, and he's seen a resurgence. And Boba Fett now, this is the only Boba Fett that I have. I used to have the original one when it came with the original Cloud City from the early 2000s, but I don't have that anymore, which is a shame, because that figure goes for ridiculous amounts of money on Britlink and eBay. Never mind. But, you know, I mean, you can pick this guy up now. I mean, he comes in, I think he comes in like the Razor Crest. I think he comes in the new updated Slave One, and then there's the UCS Slave One, and, you know, there's, I think you can even get him in like, I think there's a carbon freezing chamber set as well. You know, you can pick up different versions of him, but for me, this is the first Boba Fett that I've had in, you know, gosh, like well over 12, 15 years, you know. So for me, this Boba Fett is just fantastic. You know, would highly recommend picking up the Desert Skiff set. You can get it on eBay. I think it's about £25 now. That's just to buy outright. I mean, you can get it on Amazon or you can get it on Britlink, but pay it on Amazon because it's been discontinued. You won't get it anymore. If you get it on Britlink, you may find parts missing, but I would highly recommend Britlink if you do want to pick up the set, you know what I mean? Right, and so that's number 2, Boba Fett. And finally, we come to the number 1 character that I just absolutely love in my collection. He's an old Expanded Universe or Legends character who was so popular that the fans just gravitated towards him, and it ended up being a case of this character was then brought into the new canon, which the Disney canon, and it's easy to understand why, and that is this guy, and that's Admiral Thrawn. And I know what you're thinking Galaxy, how can he be an Imperial officer? He's an alien, they don't like aliens, you know, they're very human-centric. Well, without going into a lot of the details in the backstory, which you can find in the Thrawn trilogy, which written by Timothy Zahn, which I would highly recommend. It's a fantastic trilogy. He wrote the original Heir of the Empire trilogy, which is where Thrawn originally came from as well in the old EU. But in the Disney canon, he's in the recent Thrawn trilogy, and if you've not picked it up yet, would highly recommend. You know, it gives you a lot more context into Thrawn the character and his backstory and his rise to become the rank that he is, and obviously what happens to him in between the films and things like that. And, you know, his popularity soared more so, and he even features in a season or 2 of Star Wars Rebels, a TV show, and it's just testament to him as a character that he's so cool. And you can only get this guy in one particular set, and that's set 75170, and that's the Phantom. He features with Chopper and Kanan Jarrus. I have that set, and it's great because you get this guy. And that was released in 2017. But there's a really interesting fact about this guy, and that is his rank. Now, I'm going to focus. That's the best I can do. Right. In the books in the series, his rank is actually Grand Admiral. He's, a Grand Admiral has the same sort of number of pips and placards that you see on his chest, but there's gold. I think there's 3 gold pips for a Grand Admiral, and that's on the left-hand side. But when Lego came up with the concept for this character, he's got a full Admiral plaque. He hasn't got the gold, which is a bit of a shame because, you can get customs of this guy where he's got the correct rank insignia, but, it's not a big deal at the end of the day because, he's such a rare guy that you can only get him in one set, and I don't think Disney or Lego have any plans to re-release him in anything else. So, it is what it is, but you can kind of just deal with it. And I mean, another fun fact as well for you, particularly with Admiral Thrawn, is that the hairpiece that he has on, I can't remember the number of it, but it's a pretty popular hairpiece. You can get it in quite a few figures now. This is the only set, not just in Star Wars, but in Lego itself, where the hairpiece is blue. Every other set that it comes in is a natural hair colour. So this is, not only is it a set exclusive, it's also a piece exclusive because the hairpiece he has is blue and it's the only set where it's blue. So, I was quite surprised when I found that out. It's amazing what you can discover on the internet, as we all know, we use it every day. But no, Admiral Thrawn is not just one of my all-time favourite Lego minifigures from the Empire and the bad guys, but he's also just one of my favourite Star Wars figures in general, and one of my favourite Star Wars characters. I think if you look into the books and you do your research on the guy, he's very different to a lot of the bad guys you get in Star Wars. He's different, he's suave, he's cocky, he's a genius, effectively, and he's not one to take lightly. And if you watch him in various media and various things like that, and you read the books and you read the comics and you look behind the scenes at this guy, you can understand why. And I think because he's different and he's unique, I think that's what endeared him to me, because he's a stark contrast to, the standard Imperial officer, because, they're all human, they're all like, your Admiral Payets, they're all your General Veers, they're all your Grand Moff Tarkins, or, you're just your prim and proper Imperial officer, basically. You can get them in a dime a dozen these days in sets, but to get one set with one character who, in all white, which is the uniform of a Grand Admiral, and him to be such a prominently featured figure that he's got a book series about him, he features in Star Wars Rebels, he gets a mention in an episode of The Mandalorian as well, and, that, to me, sort of highlights how cool this guy is. I mean, I've also got him in one of the Black Series figures, which I haven't collected in years, but I just saw the guy and I thought he's cool, and, Grand Admiral Thrawn is my all-time favourite Imperial figure, and I think you can understand why. I mean, if you pick this guy up in the set, I'm not too sure how much the set goes for, but I know it goes for quite a lot just because of this guy. And then obviously you can get him loose on Britlink, but you will pay a fair bit for him because he's not easy to come by anymore, because I think Lego discontinued the set in the 2018, 2019, and he's been out for nearly 5 years, and I was lucky to get him when he first came out, and he's one of my all-time favourite figures. And I mean, if I ever was to, for whatever reason, get rid of my collection, he and maybe Director Krennic would not be 2 figures I would get rid of, because I think just the white uniforms, I mean, you can't tell me that these 2 guys in, just all white just don't look cool, you know what I mean? It's Star Wars. Star Wars breeds the imagination. I think, the fact that there's something different just is great. So we're coming to the end of the video now. Our time is almost up. I've prattled on for too long, and I'm really sorry if it was really boring. This is my first time. I apologise. If you do have any questions, you know, drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe, visit me on Instagram at Galaxy of Bricks. Link will be in the description below. So stay tuned. There will be more content to come. We'll be doing a couple of set reviews, very in depth. We'll also be doing a couple of behind the scenes, a couple of Q&As and things like that. So if you've not checked me out on Instagram, give me a like, give me a follow, you know, drop me a DM. I'll answer any questions you've got. If you've got any questions about any of the figures that I've shown you today, or you've got a set of figures yourself that are some of your favourites, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. What are your favourite bad guys in Star Wars? You know, what figures do you cherish the most? What means a lot to you? What do you mean? I'd love to hear it from you all, because I myself am a massive Lego fan as well as a Star Wars fan, and I like to know what people like, because it's very different. So until then, guys, look after yourselves, stay safe, and we shall see you all again very soon. So take care, guys. Bye bye.